What's up guys, it's Punchy, and it's finally time for another Deepwoken weekly update. With ups and downs in the current meta, there's a lot to explore when it comes to content. If you missed it last week, a new legendary greatsword dropped called the Fractine, which was a crazy stance switching heavy that we haven't seen before. That was pretty cool, and I don't know what's gonna happen next, but I like where it's going. So, as always, if you want to experiment with any of the new stuff for yourself, hop in the game to get the full experience. Anyway, make sure to like and subscribe for even more update content, and let's get right into it. In this update, we received a new weapon called the QUARTZONE Pickaxe, and it's kinda crazy. So this is a new heavy with the appearance of a crystal pickaxe, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I like the simple design here without anything too complex, but in combat, it's kinda cracked. The M1s for this weapon don't do anything special on hit when it comes to status, but I do notice this thing swings pretty fast, so it's gonna be deadly, and it definitely elevates further with the use of our multiple crits. The standing critical is a straightforward push that slams into opponents with a secondary explosion that also pushes them up into the air. It's a very basic attack that's powerful due to its fast windup, and you gotta be careful defending this thing because it hits hard. Next, onto the aerial crit, we slash forward toward our opponent with a delayed flurry of slices, closing the distance while also applying solid pressure. This critical makes the user kinda floaty, and I think it's worth trying out. This is not legendary, so yes, you can enchant it. Anyway, that's all for the QUARTZONE Pickaxe, and please share your thoughts down below. Also added in this update, we have a surprising new curse, which will be controversial no doubt, but I guess we'll see how this works. This is the Curse of Repulsion, and it looks clean with a blue appearance and glowing accents to match. I really enjoy the visual for this curse, but its gameplay might be a little bit dubious. So with this curse, all blocked weapon attacks will push enemies away, but you take 30% extra chip damage on block. Pushing players away is gonna be kinda ridiculous to fight, but defense will be terrible with this curse. Honestly though, it's kinda funny, and I guess we'll see how this functions in combat. Additionally, uncovered in the ancient Rotlands, we have a new deep shrine that was added that turns your common cards into rares. This is the Shrine of Ostentation, and it should be pretty useful when completing your builds and getting rid of cards that you don't want to have. So check it out, and it's pretty decent. Starting off with a really interesting new addition, we have an alloyed weapon that fundamentally changes how the weapon functions at a base level. So it's super interesting, and I do want to see more of this, but let's talk about it. A while ago, a few months at least, with the release of the Mudskipper Brute, we got the Coral CESTUS. This weapon was a slower version of our normal fist options with a jumping slam critical that knocked players down and kept them on the ground. The Coral CESTUS was pretty decent and visually unique, but there was only one problem. What about the Mudskipper Broodlords? In this update, it's now possible to obtain an alloyed Coral CESTUS, transforming this weapon into the BROODALLOY CESTUS. Of course, with a stat bonus like any other alloy variant, this thing hits harder and looks exactly like the Broodlord enemy fists, and that's really cool. Additionally though, to spice things up, the critical attack gets the bonus property of execution alongside its special Broodlord visual and sound effects. So if your enemy is knocked or low, you can land a critical to execute them instantly. Besides the stat upgrades and obvious visual differences, I think that all alloyed weapons should have something unique just like this. Next up, with something groundbreaking for Deepwoken monsters, there's been a major improvement and overall upgrade to their intelligence. If you weren't aware, each monster has a list of attacks that they cycle through almost randomly, but now it's a bit impacted based on the situation. For example, Sharkos will no longer snipe the player with their coral needles if you're standing right next to them, since it doesn't make much sense. This is changing to make monster mob AI a little bit more fluid and realistic, which should improve further as the game evolves. Unrelated to anything else, except maybe for Crabos, we have a new food item added today as a small bonus. This is called the Crab Stuffed Brown Cap, which is a real food that people eat in real life. Anyway, this food item can be crafted using 3 brown caps, 2 crustacean meat, and 1 cheese. The model for the food looks really cool, and it's something interesting for all the chefs out there, but besides that, it buffs up passive healing alongside bonus strength, which might be powerful on certain builds if you're about that min-max playstyle. Happy hunting, and check it out. Next up, with a large improvement coming to something from last week, we got a major change to the Rising Wind rework that makes it so much easier to use in combat. Previously, after the rework at least, this attack was very slow with janky teleports that were hard to control for both the user and the target. I don't really know how I felt about this mantra mantra, except it was just really weird to use. Anyway, in this update, this mantra happens much faster, has cleaner animations, and most importantly, has less time in between each kick. No longer will this mantra, hopefully at least, be a drawn-out cutscene combo, but something that happens and ends very quickly. Again, just as always, let me know your thoughts down below about this because I saw what you said last time and I talked about it. Additionally, when it comes to mantra visuals, there's been one talked about above anything else, that being Permafrost Prison. With a giant dark mass of black and purple, this thing obscured all attacks and was generally painful to fight against just due to the visuals. But in this update, it's finally been toned down with its VFX. As shown, this mantra is much easier to see through and looks great compared to the messy version that we've all become used to. Alongside all of these mantra changes, there's been a giant accessibility update when it comes to VISIONSHAPER. With this oath, you're always doing something and it's become increasingly more active since the rework. After sending out your clone with a set ability, you'd have to go down into your hotbar and press a separate tool to activate Reality Shift. This wasn't something difficult to do in combat, but it was taking up space in our valuable hotbar for seemingly no reason. Luckily though, in this update, opening up settings as a VISIONSHAPER lets you bind your shift to any key you like, freeing up that hotbar space once again. So it's honestly great and I love to see it. Next up, with a massive buff to the TACET MURMUR, it now functions differently when dealing damage. So for whatever reason, if you were stealth and dealt damage with a trap or something delayed, you would lose your invisibility instantly. Luckily though, this has been removed in the newest update, allowing you to maintain your cloaked status while setting up traps, which is really cool. Maybe this is the intended use of the Murmur and we can see some creative stuff in the future. Additionally, as a small quality of life change tied to looting, we have chests that stack up and add together. So have you ever tried to loot multiple chests but one was hidden under another and was unreachable? Well, that's been solved. In this patch, chests that are close together will add to a single chest pool, allowing you to pick what you want from all of the chests nearby in a single UI. This is solid and makes looting very streamlined. Added in today's update, there's also a new visual when comparing the items we have in game. So for example, having a weapon equipped and hovering over something better will display arrows comparing the different stats. This is generally the same in gameplay, but it helps players understand what's better and what's worse, and that's really cool. Anyway, for right now, that's about it. And as always, make sure to check out the weekly Battle Royale. Thank you so much to all of my members who do support my channel directly, and if you want to, you can join if you like down below. As always, for even more exclusive update content just like this, make sure to like and subscribe. We just hit 100k subs, and let's keep going. Thanks once again, it's punchin' time.